National Conference said certain entities must go elsewhere and all of that. That discussion is a discussion and a mandate of the National Conference and will be processed accordingly. Gentlemen, don't come to the press conference and disrespect the journalist here. Please write about him. He's making noise. Look at him at the back. Small Shamdu as a FNP. Siqashile abafundile. Siphathele. Mafike most disrupt. Please. The issue of the research, I mean, we've been bombarded with the research since we started the campaign, and we fought hard with on the ground, mobilizing and talking to our people. But the research, as we said in the past, that research has never been kind to the ANC over the years. And we have never fought with research as a party. And because we march, we talk to our people, to us, victory is not a given. We've got to talk to the people. And that is why voter contact, engaging people, asking them to vote for the ANC. It's not a given. And beyond asking them, convince them with the manifesto, what are they voting for? And also use the opportunity of the campaign to get a feedback from the masses. Because it's also an opportunity, also, you know, to be told of the wrong things and to accept where we have gone wrong and apologize, demonstrate through action, which is what we have done, using our incumbency, that we are committed to changing things for the better. And we have given that full account. That account was given by census. It was suppressed in the public discourse that the ANC government has done well. Not us, census, but none of our detractors wanted to punt that story, because the story must be the ANC has failed. But census conducted in this country said life was better after 1994 and not the same. And our people, as we campaign, they agree and they say, but here are the challenges that you still need to address. Census was thrown out of the window, suppressed thoroughly, and never entertained. As we get into this campaign, we knew that the ANC did well for the people of South Africa, and they will continue to do so. And our manifesto was carefully crafted, not to be a populist document, but based on practical that we are going to do. And you can check them. Fact check, and everybody have said ANC commitments are achievable on the manifesto. 2.5 million jobs, not jobs, job opportunities is achievable. Industrialization has got to be unleashed as the main tool of transforming the economy, but at the same time and creating jobs, massive jobs for South Africans. So we have never fought with the research, because there have been polls after polls, week after week, that the ANC will drop and all of that. Now they've changed their story. We have never been there, nor issued a statement to challenge them. Even those that are questionable, that come from politically aligned research groups in the country, we have never questioned them. And we have run a clean campaign. You can attest to that. We didn't ban flag. We didn't swear at people. We engaged on issues. And everything has been thrown at us. We are the incumbent. We have understood that we are to be blamed for everything. And therefore, we need to get down and talk to the people. And we are doing it as I speak to you right now, everywhere in this country. We're talking to our people, we're engaging them, we're asking them to vote for the African National Congress. Power FM, we will continue to campaign beyond Saturday, like I said. Continue to campaign beyond Saturday. Campaigning is through different means beyond Saturday, and you will see it, but within the prescripts of the law. So we will not do anything that is unlawful, that will undermine our standing in terms of the Electoral Act, and at the same time risk to be qualified. We've got posters, banners everywhere in this country. We started late, but somehow it was deliberate because we knew that this campaign was going to be 3 months. And then people made a lot of noise about money and all of that, as though they have money. So, and we know who got money from who and all of that. It has never been an issue for us. So we knew when we are going to take off, and then when we did, it is becoming very difficult because the strength of the ANC is its mass-based approach and the groundwork that we do. So we knew that to pull through a campaign where we work hard and nothing is a given. Victory and so on. We work for victory. Ntebu. Will we step aside? That question is very, very mischievous, my brother. And very provocative coming from you, but knowing you, I'm not patronizing you, you are a man of such questions. Let me say, Ntebu, that to answer your question, you don't resign because you have not done well. You actually stay on, give a report, make a reflection. Where did things go wrong? Didn't we campaign well and all of that? Or whatever that is the case. And then we are not a party that opens and closes. We've got processes. That evaluation will be done by the membership of the ANC, and they will conclude on it in their various conferences that we don't re-elect you because you did not do well. And it will be based on empirical evidence. So we were not elected to step aside. You step aside because of a policy of the party in relation to how it affects an individual. So in this case, after the election, we will meet, make a reflection, and then that reflection will be informed by the outcome of the election, how we have fared. And that is it with regard to your question. But we are confident that we will register decisive victory in the election, as we have said. I know the question was asked about percentages. We have never worked for 50% or a 2/3 majority. We work for decisive victory. The right to govern and to govern decisively, to constitute government without coalition. That's what we're working for. What informs that is because we have work to do. And that work is in the manifesto. And that work needs to be carried over and over through a decisive majority. Coalitions have not worked for South Africa. We have seen here in Johannesburg, we have seen in Port Elizabeth, we have seen in eThekwini, in Ekurhuleni, everywhere we've got coalitions, they have not worked. Coalitions are an outcome of an election, where people either don't come out in their numbers or you register low percentages. And by the way, we did register below 50%, which is the last election. And that made you guys to talk too much. 46% we got. And you forgot that we had to conduct a campaign within by instruction of the Constitutional Court. And we had to vote on a Monday. Okay? And the ANC in that campaign, we had a lot of queries about public representative, councillors, and all of that. But still, under those difficulties, we registered 46%. They could not obliterate us politically. That shows the determination. Even our opponents did not gain. Like they talk, and then they say, you know, ANC dropped below 46% as though they gained the numbers. People stayed at home. They did not come. to vote. They did not go to the opposition. If they went to the opposition, then the opposition will be governing. It did not happen. They dropped. Western Cape registered the highest number of hung municipalities. That was a campaign we conducted under COVID. Under COVID, for a month, we got 46% ANC. We got over and above 10 million votes, and we got over and above 6 million votes in a low voter turnout in the last election. 6 million people voted for the African National Congress. And that's what happened in that election. We got for the first time below 50%. And we were coming from recovery. Okay? That recovery was a recovery from 54%. And then we got 57%. And then we went to 46%, which we dropped. Now we are in this election. We will see where we will go in terms of this election. But we are fighting for a decisive victory for the African National Congress. Kaya, the 350 change, we are saying we will improve and not replace what it is there. And then we introduce basic income grant. And we explain it thoroughly, what is it. And it has been in the pipeline for years. Now, this is time for transformation and doing things. You can see with NHI, in the last election, we said NHI. In election before that, NHI. People are talking about the signing of the NHI as though we are doing something new. And they know they've held up this NHI through courts and stopping and all that, but we managed to get to this point. And now NHI has been itself on the subjected to what do you call project management people. Before you launch a project, what do you do? Pilot. Well-educated Sabelo piloted. NHI was piloted in this country. We were all there, so we know the pitfalls. We will implement it like the president has said in a phased approach. But we have arrived now. This is what people vote for when they vote for the ANC. They want equality. This country is uneven and unequal, and therefore we move from the premise that we are fighting for equality in South Africa, and it is policies like those that the ANC implement and why people vote for us. What percentage? We don't put percentage. We're fighting for decisive victory. There are people there who are very much who are very much keen to the issue of two-thirds majority. We got two-thirds majority in the last election when President Mbeki was president because we worked. We didn't say we will get it. If in this election the percentage becomes two-thirds or whatever, it will be a reflection of the people's confidence in the African National Congress. And that our message indeed has gone and people have understood and they are coming in their numbers to actually vote. So it's not something you pronounce, it's what you work for. And it's not a given. But we work for overwhelming victory. Now, lastly, we don't campaign. You know, I've seen people attacking in our campaign the involvement of elders of the ANC. And as Bapainelwa Indoni or JJ. You see, because when you have not resigned from the party can use you anytime. The ANC believe in dissent. How many things I've said as a young person that probably you will say I'm a flip-flopper today and all of that. Because at any given point in time, you are allowed in our movement to express your views. To express your views, including saying maybe the ANC needs to lose power and then come back. It doesn't mean you are not a genuine member of the ANC. You're genuine. But you express a view because it's debatable. And why do I say that? We believe in a school of thought where we debate issues scientifically and why things are set in that particular manner. So you can attack ANC leaders because at the given time they said different things and all of that. They are members of the ANC. They never left the ANC. They have dissent and they can criticize the leadership and their displeasure about certain things that are happening in the organization to make the leadership move. But it doesn't mean that they have stood in a podium and wrote a letter from a hotel or their houses that I've resigned from the ANC. And when they come and campaign, they campaign for their party because they have seen that, no, man, if you take out the ANC, the transformational agenda will be reversed. There is no alternative to the ANC. And therefore, the transformational agenda must succeed. And that is what these elders are about. And I don't understand what makes people to feel pain about ANC members, old and young, campaigning for the organization. There are many things that ANC members have said recently, and the genuine ANC members, correctly so. So when they campaign and tell people vote ANC, it is the correct vehicle to liberate you. You want to say they shouldn't because they said something. It was not anti-ANC, it was deepening the ideological understanding of how things must be done and what the ANC must do to renew itself. You know, that's the nicest thing about the ANC. That you can have dissent and people expressing themselves. That is why others liken the ANC to a church, a broad church. We don't think alike. Ideologically, others believe in socialism, others are hardcore capitalists. Which other party have you actually seen that coexist multi-ideological, like the African National Congress? And that's what has kept our organization together over the years. So there's nothing wrong. Because they thought we are on our own. We are a party of elders. As we ascend to leadership positions and all of that, we are not on our own. We are guided by our elders. That's why from time to time you get called Mbalula. You don't do that in the ANC because our elders are there. They are watching. Others are no more. We are a party of ancestors. Mokhatlo wa Modimo le Badimo. We were born in the church. And that's who we are. And we must accept that role. We must even accept criticism that comes from our own, which is unpalatable. And it doesn't mean what they said, they don't believe in it. But contesting power comes once. And if the ANC is no more, they know the African Revolution is doomed. And the National Democratic Revolution is doomed. And that's what we're defending here. And lastly, EWN, I don't know whether I should answer you. You should ask me that question. And there is no scandal. It has been proven that there is no. And that matter has been subjected to investigation, and there was a public pronouncement on it. Now, if some over-enthusiastic braggarts of the law think that they can get something out of it, let them proceed with it. And that's it. But we also examine our rights, because you've got no right to blemish in South Africa in terms of the law and subject people to a kangaroo, which it has never been proven in any court that this person has done something wrong. So we've got rights in terms of the law. AfriForum must know that. We are not scared of them, right? And if they stand for something good, let them stand for it. But we've got rights. Nobody can stand in a podium and say the SG of the ANC have done something wrong, and there is no court that have adjudicated and passed judgment on it. And all processes have actually been informed. I've never run away from anything. I've been here and all of that. But somebody has got the right to write nonsense and say that this and that has actually happened without any glimpse of evidence, and because they think they've got a right to do. And then they use platforms, EWN, News 24, and all of that. You convert You came only here for that question. You are just derailing me from a very important press conference about the ANC. You should have called me and then on the side and asked me, because it's a personal matter. You did say that. But undikupe sporweni nje deliberately ngento engekhoyo andibanjwanga akwanzanga nto uza apha nje uthunyiwe mntakwethu wena ukuthi mbuze la, because we must be subjected to something, you know, out of this particular press conference. I'm not running away. Digumele okoko na bhala lando no peripatman izolo. Danimel anindifonelanga nindilinda xa di campaign. Hey, Mbalula, you know my numbers. You don't call me. You don't send questions to me. Nindilinda up. Nizondi kupe sponi and then ndiphendule into engekhoyo engabambekiyo andibanjwanga. They're just making allegations based on something that they got and all of that. And then nizakum, because nitsingbafana nibambe big fish. Ayibanjwa njalo ki big fish, ibanjwa ngomthetho. Ubani yayifuna. And there's no law in this country that said I've got a scandal that I've made. And I've accounted fully to the public protector. After that accountability subjected me to law enforcement to check. So I'm not law enforcement. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I assume we're almost done, and I'm just going to take about 2 questions. Go back to SABC, and my brother over there, and you'll be the last one. As succinct as possible, please.
Some people want to get into SABC. My question is directed to how many people are you bringing as Gauteng? One would assume that you are going into an election where many are predicting that you will lose the economic cup outright. How many people are you going to be bringing in as a province of Gauteng to this particular Siyanqoba rally, noting what the SG has said as well, that surrounding provinces, your Free State, Limpopo, Northwest, Mpumalanga will be supporting you, but it will be anchored around Gauteng. How many are you bringing as Gauteng? Thank you.
Go at the back.
Thank you. I'm Howard Mawalewa from the UFM. SG, on this issue of a grant, I know that for years SALT has been lobbying the ANC for a basic income grant, even advocating for it publicly. Why now? Why should South Africans trust the ANC to implement it now? Why shouldn't they view it with suspicion? Similarly to the free education, tertiary education that was announced on the eve of a conference and is yet to be implemented so many years later. As a follow-up to the colleague's question about AfriForum, not in isolation, there's been issues. I've seen the ANC has taken exception to the DA guidance in particular, mocking you using an Al-Qaeda poster. There's been other negative reports about the deputy president as well. What is your general view of the campaign? Do you think it has been positive or not? Has the ANC been treated fairly by its opponents and 23 by us as the press? And finally, there's a video circulating on social media, SG, of John Mimpe, the regional chairperson of Peter Makawa in Limpopo, where he appears to be wielding a gun. It seems to be a fracas where ANC campaigners were insisting on accessing a place called Jujubile outside Polokwane, and there was a pushback there, and a child was shot. Are you aware of that incident? What is your comment, particularly on the whole mayor and regional chairperson appearing to be holding a gun in public in a situation like that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will end off. Lunga.
SG, I just wanted to ask you to answer that question about your sentiments on what the president said.
Yes. Oh, yes. All right. Thank you very much. We are done, so we are going to hand over to the SG. SG.
Thank you. Can you help me? Thanks. Sure.
No, thank you very much. How many people will be coming from Gauteng? We're told to fill the stadium. We're filling the stadium on our own. And we are bringing voters who are registered. Every bus that is coming and every person who's coming here through Gauteng is a voter, is a registered voter. We are very confident of that. There's a march which we will lead from Soweto, from Deep Kloof. We want to show you what people of Soweto are saying about the African National Congress. It's their home, and we want them to fill the stadium. Coming from other provinces, the leadership would know better. So we're filling the stadium on our own, comrade, or some Kele. So used to talk, comrade. So that's and we don't even have a fear of that. But our preoccupation is not filling up the stadium, is to win the elections, so that we defend the people's movement and we defend the African agenda. Thank you very much.
I think I'm not going to respond on the negative side because you are there to judge. There are people who try to drag us into a negative. Like I said, we have run a clean campaign, and for all of you to see. We have run a clean campaign. We did not attack anyone personally, attack any of our opponents personally. We ran a clean campaign. We respected our opponents and we respected them. But where they err and distort issues, we have engaged. We have attended public platforms, some very hostile, but we accept that nobody wants to make us a favor. We must use a superior logic to persuade people in terms of ideas, not through rebel arousing. So ANC members, leaders have been to engage and to be engaged from the front as the face of the campaign, and to engage with the media, robust. And the last engagement was with Prime Media, and he's going to also talk to others. Ask any question. The president has been available to respond to that. Sometimes there are clashes because the time is too short. We are unable to do 100 things at a go. So that's why we are on the ground. We address about 3 rallies, 4, 5 a day. And as I live here, I'm going to West Rand to campaign. Comrades are all over. The leadership is everywhere. So that shows the determination of people who are not arrogant, who are not taking it as a given that South Africa will vote for you. It's not a given. There are people who teared our posters and we have taken them on. In terms of the law, they have appeared in court. There's an old man who was very arrogant and so on. He's facing charges. He's in court. There are people who have stolen our properties like MK. We took them on. We lost. We have appealed that case in terms of the trademark issue. Helen Zille, we have taken her on in terms of ravishing our message. We have complained about her to the IEC. On the matter, I've seen already on Twitter, she was saying she's not a candidate. She doesn't account to anybody. She just went on and on. That's desperation. Okay? That's desperation from to be so desperate, because it's got to use logic to persuade voters to vote for the DA. But nonetheless, gun toting matters of John Mpe, we need to get a full report on that matter. I saw it, what happened. But violent acts are not welcome in the campaign. But there are spontaneous activities, heated arguments on the ground. We have signed the code of conduct and so on, but we will have to get to the facts of what happened on the ground there at Jujuville and so on. So we will get the facts about that from our comrades in Limpopo. Lunga, the ANC government is always ready for succession because you've got a public service that is loyal to the state, not loyal to the party per se, and that is ready at all times the matters of transition. So South Africa is not a stateless country. We are not, what is this thing? A weak state, our state is very strong, so there will be no problem with regard to that. Changes happen if they happen, and that's it. And I don't want to venture into that because it won't happen. We'll still be in charge in the next election, given the work that we have done on the ground. So the president was addressing the principle, and I don't want even to second guess him. He addressed the principle as a head of state and government. He have seen transitions over time, so we've never had a challenge. When I become a minister in government, I get to be given what is a package of a minister by the state, a car, bodyguards, and all of that. And then you inherit what is there in terms of the package. So the state flows. You don't serve a party when you're a civil servant, you serve the people and the state. So South Africa has created a very strong state under the leadership of the ANC government from 1994. President Mbeki says when they arrive in government, they only found a room and a office, actually, and a desk with nothing. So they had to navigate. So we had to navigate and create a very strong state to ensure that South Africa is governed and governed well. So that's what will happen. So President was correct. Thank you.
I am closing. What is the? Or of the basic income grant as sincere.
No, ANC has always been sincere. I don't know when you say free education that has never come, what do you mean? I'm sure you are a student of TEFSA. You are a student of TEFSA in this country. And the Freedom Charter doesn't talk about free education, even at tertiary. It says students will be given loans. The Freedom Charter, under the doors of learning and culture. Read the principles below that. It talks about free compulsory education, but at the same time, it explains itself, the Freedom Charter, that students will be given loans in terms of those who want to study at tertiary level. Now, the ANC have moved faster for the realization of free education, even beyond what the Freedom Charter defines. We started with TEFSA, and then we came with NSFAS, which was giving bursaries and loans. If you are a well-performing student, you qualified for a bursary through NSFAS. We then scrapped that and gave bursaries, which is free education. If you are a student, you get paid for transport, accommodation, and all your educational needs. What people don't understand is that when you don't perform in the system, because it's not only tertiary in terms of universities that is open for the youth to study, there's even TVET colleges for diversification. And even there, we still give students NSFAS to start. Now, if you don't pass 3 years or 2 years, you then set aside, because you've got to open a space for others. And then who will actually come in terms of the system. But in South Africa today, first students in South Africa today are subsidized fully 100% by government. And that is free education. And if you've got another definition of it, you please give me. Now, I'm not talking something that we said will happen and it doesn't happen. It's happening. I don't know, many people are just running away from the truth, and when these things you relate to them that they are happening, they get shocked in terms of the system. ANC did not start the social security net approach today during the election. Right from the outset, 1994, child support grant, we implemented indigent policy right from the onset. And basic income grant, I don't know who was asking here. I think it's Lunga or somebody. Yeah, you was champion. Yes, Ngu Kaya Kosatu. It has been debated back and forth and so on. It's not something new. We considered it, how to implement it. Then came SRD, right? And then 350. So we say we're not doing away with everything. We'll redefine that. And then because there is a foundation for the implementation of basic income grant, and that's what we'll do going forward. So it's not a promise of something that is not achievable, that we cannot do. The fact of the matter is that South Africa has got a problem and a challenge of disengaged youth. People who basically are constituted the biggest reserve of the unemployed. It's dropouts out of matric because of all social ills, teenage pregnancy, and all of that. And they are at home, no hope of what they will do. Yes, you talk about job opportunities, but when those opportunities come, who's going to grab them? Because you need to prepare that unemployed reserve that is there in the town. You meet them anytime. We can go now. They are there. And all of that, early teenage pregnancy, no matric, nothing. You create jobs for who? You find that you don't have. So you don't have people to fill those jobs. So what we do, whilst people are on the queue of unemployment and all of that, they will get this basic income grant, but they will also be trained. We are implementing massive national youth service program, particularly for that cohort. So that you don't have matric, at least you've got a skill, you can become an artisan and go and do something better for yourself, and not just rely on social grants and all of that. We will also give you a stipend. Now, we are going to implement that program through South African National Defence Force. Thousands and thousands of young people are going to be absorbed through that particular program. Now, we have looked at that for many years, from the time when we created Umsobo Mvu Youth Fund, which came out of demutualization of Old Mutual, and then created Umsobo Mvu Youth Fund with 1 billion rand and transformed it into the NYDA. We have learned through that process, supporting young entrepreneurs in the townships. Look, the problem of disengaged youth remain with us, and it's stubborn. And what do? We need to check it. And then over and above that, we address the issue of mismatch of skills. And so that when we talk about job opportunities, the people who are going to grab those opportunities are the ones who have gone through colleges and at the same time universities, but properly trained to grab those opportunities that we are going to create. When we industrialize and we change tune and we say we no longer export raw materials out of the country, we assemble everything here, we export finished products, we create industries in our country and create jobs. Who's going to grab those jobs? It is going to be the same youth we prepare and train so that they can be absorbed. Panyaza here in Gauteng and the Department of Labor have absorbed 500,000 young people. I'm not talking about other provinces, through UIF. Okay? Ndikhalele usukelwa mna nangabantu nje abathi ndingumntu we 10%. through UIF. And then when they got to court, not prove that particular issue. Khona omnye umuntu nje omnye ubhuti nje wavela wathetha into ongakwazi uyithetha. The kanti mfaka amagqwetha zahla ibhrukwe. Uyabona, and all of that. So he couldn't explain what he claimed somewhere ukuthi ndathi ndim lo masiye mhlekazi ematyaleni masiye nase-court and everywhere. He was nowhere to prove lonto beyithetha. That programs, those programs in the Department of Labor have been unleashed throughout the country to train, skill young people, give them stipend. That's a massive project of this government. So we're not talking about something that we are going to do in 3 years. We are doing it now. And when we do these things, like when we told you that we will deal with load shedding, it will disappear. No, it's elections. After elections, this thing will resurface. They corrected each other in the boardrooms. No, these people on track. And then we said we want it to be gone by December. They said, Mbalula said December. I've never been so important that I determine timelines. The December, we said we want it gone by December. It did. We don't work at ESCOM. So if they can't meet not even the deadline, that by December load shedding is gone, it doesn't mean that the struggle to get to do away with load shedding is gone. We said those things. They will happen. When there is no load shedding for almost 60 days, 2 months, it's a shock system. Because we are used to things happening and then at some point there's consistency and they change. So it's a shock system. But this is what Ramaphosa is leading. And he was disturbed by COVID-19. We will be very far by now in terms of the plans that we are talking about now. When we say that, it's like we were alone in this country when we were attacked by COVID. For almost a year or 2 years, people sitting at home, we even had action during COVID and all of that. No, they're just making COVID an issue. There was not a problem in this country. Steady, but sure, we are getting there. And when all these plans without hindrance are implemented, this country is going to boom. And that is why, as I conclude, I normally say to people, if the ANC were to lose elections, those who will come in, they will make us look like we've been sleeping on the job, and yet we were doing a lot of work to transform this country and changing lives of the people for the better. Helen Zille is Helen Zille, so we'll take to where she belongs. And there are many of such Helen Zilles, and we've taken them to the electoral court. They've lost. Some are in court, who tear our post daylight and all of that. But run a clean campaign as the ANC. And where we have seen things that could go wrong, as leadership intervened. Even with provocations and all of that, we want a free, fair election. That's what we want for South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, SG. Thank you. With that said, we are adjourned and look out for the media advisory in respect of what's coming up in the coming days, and do trust that all members of the media who are here are accredited by now. Because if that's not the case, let us avoid having to deal with that on Saturday morning. And I